Good day, everybody. We're reading the Bible in a year, 2021. We're on day 93, and we're on chapters 10, 11, and 12 of Judges. So let's get into this. Judges chapter 10, verses 1 to 5. We see here Tola and Jar. There's no crisis going on. There's constantly skirmishes. I'm sure there's lots of skirmishes and stuff going on, but there's no big oppression where any part of Israel is under oppression. So we see that it doesn't necessarily take a crisis for Yahweh to anoint a leader in Israel. He appoints these judges, and it but it doesn't have to be in a moment of crisis. Just keep that in mind. And in fact, there's three of them that are like this kind of, and these are short term. These are not long term. There's a number of leaders here that are bang 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 bang. Normally, what happens is that they get oppressed for like 6 years, 8 years, and then a judge is appointed for 40 years, and then they're oppressed again for maybe 10, 12 years, and then there's a judge is appointed 35, 40 years, and so on. But these are like 5 years, 6, 8, is what's going on. In fact, we're going to see something interesting. I'm going to point it out when we come to it. So what's happening is that instead of Israel getting better, they're getting a lot worse. And we see here in verse 6, then the Israelites again did things that the Lord saw as evil. They served the Baals and the Astartes, as well as the gods of Aram, Sidon, Moab, the Ammonites, and the Philistines. They went away from the Lord and didn't serve him. So things are just getting really out of hand here. Um, and so what we're finding here is that the Philistines and the Ammonites come in, and now they're oppressing the Israelites for 18 years. 18 years, much different than the 6, 8 years that were before. Now this group is coming in, and it's for 18 years. And in verse 7, the Lord became angry with Israel and handed them over to the Philistines and the Ammonites. In verse 14, we have Israel crying out to Yahweh, but Yahweh has a strange reply here. This whole cycle seems to be getting broken here, because his reply to them when they're crying out to him is just go cry out to the gods you've chosen. Let them rescue you in the time of your distress. Yeah. Um, but they turn around and we see some true repentance taking place here. They put away the foreign gods from among them and served the Lord, and the Lord could no longer stand to see Israel suffer. So he responds to true repentance. It is who he is, and it is the commitment that he has to love us. That in the sincerity of our repentance, he responds. Um, and then chapter 11 verse 3, we have Jephthah now is coming on board. Jephthah's the new judge that's here. Hey, but he again, it's short term. He's not at this for a very long time. He's not at this for 40 years. It's under 10 years he's got this job. But we see how he starts off, and he's like treated just as an outcast. So Jephthah ran away from his brothers and lived in the land of Tob. Worthless men gathered around Jephthah and became his posse. That sounds familiar, doesn't it? It's even worthless men are looking for leaders. And in 4 to 6, verses 4, 5, and 6, we see that Yahweh doesn't choose him as a leader. Sometimes afterward, the Ammonites made war against Israel, and when the Ammonites attacked Israel, Gilead's elders went to bring Jephthah back from the land of Tob. No messengers, no prophets involved, no communication from the Lord whatsoever. It is the leadership that has turned around and they chosen Jephthah as the judge, the one to lead them out of this. They said to him, come to our commander, come be our commander so we can fight against the Ammonites. The nerve of them after rejecting him. But then we see something amazing here in verse 29. Just keep this in mind now. Uh, you know, when you're wondering about voting and politicians and all that sort of stuff and all governments belonging to the Lord, look what we have here. Then the Lord's Spirit came on Jephthah. The Lord didn't select him, but the Lord anointed him. Then the Lord's Spirit came on Jephthah. He passed through Gilead and Manasseh, then through Mizpah in Gilead, and from there he crossed over to the Ammonites. That's something there to ponder for a second. Just drink that in for a moment. It is like the Lord to choose the rejected ones to serve him. But in this case, the elders had asked him to be their leader. And then the Lord must have found something pleasing in this because he anointed Jephthah to do this. But then we see that there is some concern here. There is some immaturity. We see it in this rash, solemn promise that he makes. Jephthah made a solemn promise to the Lord. If you will decisively hand over. See, he didn't need to do this. It's the Lord's design. He's anointed him now to crush the Ammonites. Okay, that's done. But Jephthah doesn't have that sensitivity to the Lord. There is no messenger that is sent. There is no prophet that is given to him. So he feels he's going to make this deal, and he makes this deal. Anybody ever been there trying to make a deal with the Lord? It's because you're not sensitive to him. You can't hear what he's saying, and all the time he wants to give you the very thing that you're trying to bargain for, and you're trying to make deals with him. Jephthah made a solemn promise to the Lord, and look how rash this is. If you will decisively hand over the Ammonites to me, then whatever comes out of the doors of my house to meet me when I return victorious from the Ammonites will be given over to the Lord. I will sacrifice it as an entirely burned offering. Uh, I've heard the jokes about, he was hoping it was his wife that come out the door. That's terrible. But what did he expect? Did he expect his favorite dog to come out the door? Like he didn't think this through. He didn't think it through. Why didn't he just say like I will sacrifice half my sheep, or I will give my best cow, or why not? But no, he does this, and it has ramifications. This is kind of a side thing. So just hold on to that because we're going to come back to it. And then we see when the victory, with the victory, who gets the credit here? In verse 32, Jephthah crossed over to fight the Ammonites, and the Lord handed them over to him. Okay, the Lord handed them over to him. The Lord did not select Jephthah, but he anointed him, and then he gave him the victory over the Ammonites. So, okay, so let's deal with this rash thing that he did in verse 35 of chapter 11. Um, this is what we have. When he saw her, like he arrives home, and it's his daughter that comes out, his daughter who he really loves, his only child. When he saw her, he tore his clothes and said, "Oh no, my daughter, you have brought me to my knees. You are my agony, for I opened my mouth to the Lord, and I can't take it back." Okay, but I just want to make it really clear here. Jephthah did not sacrifice his daughter. Okay, it would not have been accepted. The Lord would not have allowed it. Uh, it just human sacrifice was absolutely deplorable to him. It's the reason why he's wiping out the 7 nations in this land of territory of Canaan. He just because of the human sacrifices that they were making. So there's just no possible way. He's the one who makes arrangements for people to be redeemed. And if you remember, um, because of the Passover, because of what happened in Egypt, and he provided the Passover, all the eldest belonged to him. But instead, he received the Levites in their place. But he didn't put the Levites to death. No, he the Levites came on board to serve him. The Levites are set aside for his purpose. He became their inheritance. And so in this case, she would have been dedicated to the Lord. Perhaps there was a lamb that was given as a burnt sacrifice that to redeem her. We don't have all those details, but we know the heart of Yahweh. We see it. We see what He does. We see what's deplorable to Him and what He doesn't accept. And so, but she would have been dedicated, which meant that she wouldn't have been unable to marry. And this ends up costing him because then he has no grandchildren. He has nobody to carry on his name at all. And that would have been the price that he ended up paying for this. And she paid the price because she would have to remain unmarried and without child. And that's why they were celebrating, because that remember the importance of the name. Remember the importance of carrying on that name. Remember the importance of bearing children, and that's what would have been marked, the sacrifice that was made in this way. A silly sacrifice, an unnecessary sacrifice, but it was a solemn pledge that couldn't be taken back. Then we have chapter 12, verse 1. Uh, and we see here poor Jephthah. Now he has to deal with the Ephraimites. And the Ephraimites have an attitude problem. It was first with Gideon. Remember with Gideon that they were upset because he didn't include them? And he said, "What are you talking about? Like, the victory that you got is bigger than the victory that I got." And he was a diplomat with the whole thing, and made them feel good. But Jephthah, he's not so good. So look at their attitude problem. The Ephraimites were called up for battle and crossed over to Zaphon. They said to Jephthah, "Why did you cross over to fight the Ammonites and not call us to go with you? We're going to burn down your house over you." Yeah, it's just, I mean, yeah, nice people. So the problem is that Jephthah is not as skilled as Gideon. He's not able to turn back their crazy complaint, and he ends up going to war with them. So Jephthah gathered all the men of Gilead and fought the Ephraimites. The Gileadites defeated the Ephraimites because they had said, "You are fugitives from Ephraim." Ephraim. Gilead stands with Ephraim and Manasseh. So, or stands within, sorry, stands within Ephraim and Manasseh. Um, and so we have this now. Yeah, see, there's lots of things that are included in the word. I keep trying to point this out. There's lots of things that are included that do not belong to the heart of our Father. And he would mourn over this because this now is unnecessary. They have the victory. They don't need to do this. And it just, this is terrible bloodshed. The Gileadites took control of the Jordan's crossing points into Ephraim. Um, Whenever one of the Ephraimite fugitives said, "Let me cross," the Gileadites would ask him, "Are you an Ephraimite?" If he said no, they would tell him, "Then say Shibboleth." But he would say Sibboleth because he couldn't pronounce it correctly. So they would seize him and kill him at the Jordan's crossing points. 42,000 of the Ephraimites fell at that time. Why? The Gileadites already had the victory. This was unnecessary bloodshed. And that is not something honorable. That is not something that would fit in with the law. So then we have, just stand off here, in the last few verses. We have three leaders that are named. They're all short term. Bang, bang, bang. You saw Jephthah was short term, under 10 years. And then we have these three leaders, bang, 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 short term. And we saw that the Ammonites and the Philistines had them oppressed for 18 years before they freed themselves from them, or the Lord freed them. And and then we have these short bang, bang, bang leaders in succession. Now, wait till tomorrow when you see how long the Philistines had oppressed them. Okay, and we're going to see that things have flipped. Instead of a judge being there for a long time and the oppression being a short time, what we have is judges being there for a short time and the oppression being a long time. So we're going to look at that tomorrow. Um, so you guys be blessed in today. I'm glad that you're continuing on with this. You guys be blessed in this. Be blessed in all the things that you're learning, the things that you're seeing about Yahweh's heart, and how much we love Him and how much He loves us. And you just keep pressing in on this relationship. See you guys tomorrow. God bless.